Here I am.
Okay, perfect. So Asaf, you sit in a car.
It is the perfect place to accept this panel.
Near the beach. You just were surfing the beach, or?
You wanted a connected car session. I'm in a connected car.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. That's true commitment.
You have a bit of a good view on the side.
Yeah. I see. So again, not too much words. Welcome to the final round. We had a great day. I learned that most of us know each other. I know Wolf. I tried to get him to my program. So hopefully, Wolf, we meet later. So a lot of insights, brain for a lot of things said. So as Hume said, a lot of you in the audience have heard the different lectures. But nevertheless, I will shortly introduce each of our 5 panelists. We then have maximum 3 minutes, I call it brain food, where Holger, Liron, Joachim, and Asaf are putting their personal point of view to our topic. Our topic is really monetization. How do we make business of data? Very simple. I'm a business guy. I'm not a technician. I'm not an IT guy. So it's really the focus after many years of innovations, pilot projects, startups. Now, where's the beef? How do we really make business, and how do we get consumer to pay our income? So we start with 3-minute statements, and we have 25 minutes for Q&A. That's you audience, that's your part. And in the end, we have a short roundup question. So I would like Liron Cohen-Yanay, I hope that was right, to start. She had some leadership positions in smart mobility technology companies, like the most famous Better Place. I think we all know them. A real pioneering EV player. And a little story. I work quite closely for NIO. NIO's the Chinese brand. And they are the ones who now benefit a lot because the Chinese government pays subsidies only below 300,000 RMB. They have one exception for cars and companies who offer swapping technology, like you invented at that time. And so now NIO is having a great rally with their share price and really profiting from the technology you probably invented a bit too early. In the current position, Liron is responsible for GreenRoad's marketing and commercial initiatives, which is I like because that's what it's all about. In order to bring GreenRoad's unique platform technology and driver behavior-centered safety approach to fleets throughout the world. She has an BA in economics and an MBA in marketing and advertising. So Ryan, the stage is yours. The next 3 minutes, please.
Well, first, thank you for having me, Mr. Kleebinder, and thank you for this entire panel for joining this session. We're all now in several waves of the COVID-19, and I think that we're going to go back to our new normal, and we're all going to go back to some kind of mobility. It might be our own car or a service that we'll take, but eventually we'll meet out there on the road. And when we will, it's important that we all keep safe after what we just had, and also reduce what's used to be a very high rate of accidents and others. Today on the road, we see many accidents that are happening because of speeding, even though the roads are not packed and there's not much traffic. So reflecting to the drivers when they are doing some mistakes out there on the road, working with them and providing the right data, I think that would be the base to many other business models. The connected car ecosystem is focused on the vehicle. We saw many presentations here about technology. I liked your statement that we're looking for business. And we in GreenRoad and myself are very interested in business. So not only technology, smart technology, but we believe that that if you have the right data, you can monetize on that. And this is why we mentioned also in our presentation some of the options with fleets, with MaaS, like mobility as a service that can support passengers transportation, but also on in the insurance, which is a growing industry. And I think that setting the stage for the last question on 2030, I think this is the one that will be growing with all the data and the business aspects.
Perfect.
So that's
perfect. Thank you very much. My briefing was not 100% correct. The 230 questions we will put in the end. So I really would like, until the end, I would like to focus on short to midterm. And
yes.
I think you're right. Probably short and midterm is now different than maybe 10 years ago. So I would like to talk about tomorrow until maybe the next 2 years, which is in my definition, the new long term. So Holger is Vice President Global Business and Channel Development at ZF 3000 Aftermarket. He spent almost 10 years in different managing positions for automotive parts distributors. So he knows the aftermarket. And I can tell you the last 10 years, it was the only market who was really relevant besides the used car market, where the OEMs still earned enough money to invest in our future. So I'm happy to have you on screen, and please give us your brain food.
Yeah, thanks for having me in this inspiring round. So my brain food would be like when you really ask like what's short term, what's next? Yeah, the next 2-3 years, and depending a little bit where you start, but my thing would be I miss even the easy solutions. Yeah, so think about what you can do. Just knowing the mileage, for example, you can predict sometimes a maintenance, let's say for a break. Yeah, because it's so mileage dependent. So it's just one data point you need. And this already reduces downtime and it has a high customer value already in using more of this as a, let's say, a traditional OEM or whomever you are. Second thought would be think about short-term, forming really strong alliances. And I'm getting feedback from market players where we are in talks with leading global companies, and they are all now looking for these alliances because everybody is rethinking strategy now after Corona. So people are super open for alliances. They know that the lonely warrior is not the way to go. And so I would really encourage everybody short-term, share your things, be more open for these alliances, build an ecoverse together. And I think this is one of the key factors. And the third, let's say, food for thought would be think about the fleets. I would make sure that you have the fleets always on your mind. We often think of passenger cars and the car drivers first, but the fleets are having more issues, and it starts with easy things again. So think about service booking. Today, you can book 99% of hotels worldwide. You can book them online without calling. Yeah? When you think of workshop service, less than 10% in developed countries like the US, like Germany, you cannot book online. Yeah, so the watch is running through. So that would be my 3 thoughts. Start with the simple ones, form strong alliances, and think of the fleets.
I must add 2 short comments. One is, connected services. It was founded in 2002 with Connected Drive. So we have enough time to practice and really now make it happen. And you mentioned downtime. Downtime will get a different, let's say, a different role when we talk about, in some distant future, about autonomous car, which are heavily dependent on effectiveness monetizing, that they have least downtime. So I think that service will be a major player also in this far distant future.
Yeah,
brings me to Joachim Klink. He is head of autonomous driving and smart mobility with T-Systems, which is belonging to Telecom. So probably the 2 most sexy topics in this telecommunications company. He has more than 10 years in the business, more than 20 years. And he works, his fields are autonomous and 5G R&D projects, teleoperations, sustainable traffic management, and multimodal mobility initiatives. So Telecom is an important player. I think without Telecom and the other major 3 players, nothing can really happen. And also I know that Telecom is now also heavily investing in smart city to close the gap between how we move and how we live. So Joachim, stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, my three statements would be, first of all, there is this saying, data is the new oil. We all heard that. But the real value arises when you fill up the gas in the tank and the customer pays for it. So the raw oil itself is almost nothing worth. And that is, I think, a fundamental learning we also had to make. Yeah, we also looked into our data we have, not the ones we do with OEMs, with our own products. And we saw that not a lot comes out of it so far. So it's business transactions what create the value. Google, Facebook, and these companies, they sell ads. They don't sell data. They use data, yeah, to better sell ads. Second, so as a consequence, I really challenged the huge enthusiasm and the predictions of billions and trillions and zillions of euros which could be earned with connected vehicle data. Yeah, I really don't believe in this, at least not in the near term, or not even in the midterm. I think we see very soon a downturn on the Gartner hype cycle, if you will.
Yeah.
The data is I would call it the cream on the cake, and we'll still have some time to eat from the cake. This is the more interesting business, and that's also good news for the OEMs, I guess, because if I may use this analogy, they know more about cakes than cream in this business, so they are not in the data business so far. I guess that's the good news for them. And thirdly, so that is what I mean when saying connected vehicle is still about customer experience and operational efficiency. All the original use cases when it was invented, when it was created, it's the driver who has to pay for it. Yeah, it's the OEM what value out of the data. Their engineers, their after-sales departments. Finally, they sell products, retrofit or whatever, line fitted, and that is, I think, what we still should focus on and not forget when we talk about data as the new oil or connected vehicle business is only data-driven business.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm quite positive. I know I always said that data is the cherry on the cake. So we move one below. It's now the cream on the cake.
Okay.
And I really hope that you telco companies, you are close to the customer. You have the billing relationship, and I think you have a crucial role in the whole ecosystem to really make users pay for the services and really get acquainted with them.
If I may correct a bit, of course, we are part of the Deutsche Telekom, but as T-Systems, we deliver the whole backend experience, the apps, and more or less everything outside the car for the vehicle. So we are more in the B2B business. We don't build to the end customer, we build to the suppliers and the OEMs. But anyway, I fully agree. The parent company is very good in customer relationships, and we can also bring that to bear.
Definitely. So I'm as a customer, so for me, Telecom is a very important player, really picking up in that field. Last but not least, Asaf just comes from the beach, is the Chief Commercial Officer at Otonomo. Thank you for your presentation before. You're with Otonomo for 4 years. So tell us which number you had with the employers. And you're an automotive data platform, and you're responsible, it's important, for the data supply to the platform, for example, OEMs, but also the data demand, so supply and demand. That's a challenging role. So please give us your brain food. The screen is yours.
So I think that in general, H1 of 2020 showed great progress for connected vehicle data. amazing progress, but still, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Many big players are not fully engaged on the OEM arena, I'm talking. Second thing is that we see today that good vehicle data could drive fleet management above and beyond where it is today. We can harvest data from new sensors. We see new types of data. We can drive new insights. And Holger mentioned the importance of fleet. We see the fleet in the front of data usage, in the front of conversion of data into dollars, and this is not something that needs to wait to 2030, and it's not something that needs to wait for the midterm. It's happening now, and you're either in or out. The third brain food I have is the data DNA is not very common across the industry. And this is something that has to be yet acquired, just like any other taste. Organizations need to change responsibilities, org charts, and when this is happening, when people have the right skill set, we can expect accelerated value creation from data. So for me, value creation from data is here and now. It is not something for 2030 and not something for 2023.
Okay. So thank you very much for that first round. We had a nice discussion before. I enjoyed. So if you have any questions to each other, feel free. I would like to start just looking at one thing. We talked about Corona. You know, I say it's just changing everything. It's picking up pressure, and even in Germany, we cannot neglect that we need mobility revolution, not just a transformation. Traffic changes, traffic behavior changes. Right now, we turn back to the car, we do holidays at home. So I think that the topic will stay on the agenda very strong. So we have now my boss, Miss Angela Merkel, you know her. We have now the next 6 months, we have in the European Union, we have something to say more than before. So if you have one wish, let's say to the whole thing you cannot directly manage, you know, like regulations, like is it communication. So if you have this one link, what should happen now with the learnings of Corona? And now with the next months to really change things we have maybe waited long for. Yeah, it might be some politics or something which you say, now it's ready, we need this now. We waited long years, but what would really help your business to kick off? Let's start with Holger.
Yes, so thanks for having me. It's a great opportunity. And I have to say, so Corona COVID, for me, is just an accelerator. So the transformation was ongoing already.
Yeah.
So the whole industry transforming drastically. And now we just have Corona as a little bit. It's not just coming a little bit faster. Yeah. And so the things I would ask for now are the same things we already needed before Corona. And this for me includes, and that was a little bit what Asaf mentioned earlier, is that we need these industry standards. We need the open, and we need to have access to data. Yeah, so there are interfaces in the car you don't get access to currently. Yeah, and that's an EU topic, and it's waiting there to be decided. So I think it's better. It's like when you look at your smartphone. Yeah, that the user, the car driver, he should own the data. He or she should own the data and should decide: do I want to give it to the OEM? Do I want to give it to a third party, to otonomo, to whomever? And then I think this would be the breakthrough. Then we would see all these kind of innovations coming up, and we would see the winning business models. And right now, because we don't have the access to the data, and it's so hard to get around, and like there are so many individual bilateral solutions. So I think data access, and this is something that actually many countries in the EU are in favor of, but Germany, unfortunately, is blocking that innovation. So I think that would be my wish, be more open in terms of data access.
Yeah. Let me give one comment to this. Liron and Asaf, do you know with Google does his privacy practice concerning data? Where do they have their headquarters globally to research, do innovations? So Google has the headquarters for privacy and data management in Munich. Why? Because we are most scared and paranoid to data. And so I can just add to Holger that we are not leading. So I'm really curious about Asaf and Liron, how to respond to Holger's demand with data access. And now we wake up a little bit that we see maybe data can help to our health, you know, which is all COVID-19 app. So we have 15 million people now downloading the app, which nobody would have been expected. So let's say that's a German point of view. What about data access and open data? Is it a discussion with Liron?
Yeah, you know, the entire, I'm just relating to the last sentence and then I'll take it back to the fleets and the driver. Yes, the COVID-19 posed a new question to us about data privacy and how us as users want to improve our health or safety or behavior by sharing data, by gathering data, by owning data, and by managing it. So a lot of, I'm happy that your application for contact tracing is succeeding in Germany. In many places, it failed because of privacy issues, which means people did not want to share their data, and not only in the EU, by the way, also here in Israel. People did not want to share their data with the government or with any others on that matter. But what if we're giving, and I'm speaking because we are in the health, safety, and environment. We work with these people in organization, and we work with we work with HSE leaders. But what if we could give the driver the option to manage his own data, or we'll give the user the option to manage his own data? So if I'm taking it to the example you gave for health, then the citizen or the driver will assess his own risk based on exposure and then push it to the government if you want, or to his care services, healthcare services. But if I am on safety and we're focused on fleet, and I'm happy that the entire panel spoke that the fleet is the entire is the growth. The growth is around fleets in the coming two years, because we are actually focusing on that as well. When we're giving data to the users and empowering them, they're playing along. They're ready to give some of their privacy. And we need to remember, we work with fleets and we're speaking thousands of drivers in the UK, for instance, that are using our solution. And we needed to address this issue of GDPR with data processors and others. Yes, you give the drivers the option to be part of the game. You give the individual to be a part of the game, and then they'll share the data, because there is a value. If it's a data just for the data's sake, it won't work. But if it's a data for the sake of gamification, of incentives, of being part of something bigger, they'll play along easily. And you see it in Germany now. Just contact tracing won't work.
Important point. So I think maybe also a lot of education, at least from my point of view, and to show how this can work, all the benefits. And so what's, Joachim, what's your point to Ms. Merkel?
Yeah, I would suggest, I mean, just coming back to this point, because one of the chief architects is in my team for this Corona app. And he shared stories that was really interesting. The fun part is that people complain or are concerned, and this debate about data privacy concerns of the Corona app in Facebook, Twitter, and whatever other tools. That is very funny to me anyway. My wish from the governments itself is, we have, if we look at connected vehicle as itself isolated, that is probably not addressing the whole issue of mobility. And I try to extend the range, and we have a lot of pollution in cities, even in Germany, in the clean Germany, probably in Switzerland as well, and in mega cities much more worse. And we have congestion, of course. So I think we need to get away a bit, and we're already in this direction. That the car can solve everything, and we with intelligent traffic infrastructure we can do a lot, of course. But we need to combine individual mobility with public transportation. So that is my view on connected mobility, is also connect cars with other cars and with other means of transportation to get a more holistic view of mobility. And I think we're underway. With subsidizations, with R&D programs, with fundings also from cities, and interestingly, we've seen with COVID-19 the impact on air pollution in cities. We have also seen home office is possible. Yeah, we now experience this event. Half a year ago, probably, if you would have suggested things like that, everybody would have said, "It's not going to work. It's impossible." Yeah. And that is also an interesting takeaway that we see. If you want to change some in this time, we're forced into this, but life goes on. Yeah, we're still somehow in business. Of course, we will have effects, and that is my hope that we will also have an acceleration of clean air. Sustainable traffic, more intermodal, more holistic mobility.
Yeah. Let me add one thing, please, Liron.
No, if I may add, just on the COVID and our request or wish for Angela Merkel, we see globally that during COVID-19, even though traffic was lower and even though air was cleaner, there were more accidents.
Mm-hmm.
The road was open, and you would imagine that traffic is what create. I think, you can check UK and US. People were speeding. Okay, so the road is open, you can speed, and people didn't need to. There are two options. One, they came back to the road after not driving a long time, so it takes time to get back to previous habits. And the second thing is that you don't need to, if the road is open, you don't need to take care of the surroundings, which means you don't, when you drive today, you are in alert to see what others are doing. So you're expecting the road. If you're driving safely, you're looking ahead of the road, trying to expect what will happen to drive safely and leave enough room for you. When you don't have people on the road, then you're focused only on your driving, and then you drive recklessly. So if I would like to have some kind of regulation, like they have cameras to catch speeding, and others to have some kind of regulation that will help focus on driving and safe.
That's an interesting point. I must admit, I'm now heavily also in using the train to work. But yesterday I used my Mini to drive to a seminar, and I really enjoyed it more than before, missed it. And that's probably one point, really looking on safety and how we use this change. One thought to Joachim. Yes, we have the public transport, finally also getting a big view. I also think that the discussion about micromobility.
Yes, absolutely.
Away, from our thoughts, and it's just the e-scooters are just a symbol, but they carry data, they act at VLAN, they can measure the air quality. So we really have new players in the game. Besides just connected vehicles, is really more.
Absolutely, shared mobility, micromobility, public transport. That all needs to be connected. And also, of course, home office is part of the game. Right, so we can avoid travel or reduce travel, and then we can organize travel more intelligently, more smart than just driving to the office each day and back.
And look at our pictures. Asaf coming from the beach in his car. I'm at home. I don't know. It's really a totally new game, which is also going to reflect our mobility. Asaf, what should I bring to Angela Merkel concerning Europe?
Well, I think that what you want to bring to Angela Merkel is what we do all day. We open up data from vehicle sources to the world, and mainly to third parties, not the walled garden the OEM came up with when they were sitting in a dark room in the headquarters and imagining what would be the best service. It's what actually people want and what developers are developing. So, for us, it's, and I'm not divulging on anything. We do it with BMW, we do it with Daimler, we do it with many other German manufacturers, where we help them open up their data to the world for the benefit of, bridging the gap between what car engineers think about when they say data and what application and service developers think about when they say data. And we have collaboration with ZF for that, and we have collaboration with GreenRoad for that, and we have some collaboration with Telecom for that. And they are on the data consuming side, and sometimes they are on the data provider side. But at the end of the day, we are forming a platform that would help the industry as an industry. Our platform cannot help a specific provider. It doesn't work. And that is the kind of openness we're trying to facilitate without having to bother Angela Merkel with questions. So we're trying to serve for COVID.
Okay. I have the feeling what you just mentioned, that the OEMs really have some time to pick up in collaboration. So they have here, I think here was founded maybe 6-7 years ago, but not really in the public, maybe B2B, it's not fair. But what I experienced, it's that like companies like Bosch, like ZF, like Continental, are really picking up, working together and having this kind of collaboration. So that's going to be interesting the next years to develop. So Thomas, I need some time. We have still time for more questions, or do we have questions from the public? Yes, we have. So now let's just look at 2030. It's a long time. It's really far distance. Yeah. And data will be important, or let's say autonomous driving will not exist. No, doesn't matter which level without data. So where do you see your business in 2030, assuming that 5G will work, even in Germany, that we really will have open data platforms, that we can share the data? Which kind of technologies we will need? Will there be blockchain, 3D printing, whatever? And we will have customers who are educated. Maybe our kids, our grown-up kids are then older. So what will really be your business like? And how will you profit from it? I will start with Joachim. And maybe how will the role of your company, of T-Systems? Will it still be a service provider? Or maybe your role can change? Will you maybe produce content?
I guess Deutsche Telekom is more in the content and customer business, and we will bring that to bear also to vehicles, any kind of vehicles. T-Systems will probably be the integrator and the operator and developer of a holistic mobility experience. So we will definitely evolve, and we're already underway from a connected car business to a truly comprehensive connected mobility business. That's what I expect. And also that we will, as a society, but also in the business, we will connect the dots, and we will probably be much different especially in cities. There will be less cars in cities. There will be a lot more flexibility. We will have a lot more quality space for people connecting with each other, meeting each other, walking, whatever. That's what I believe will happen until 2030 or whatever in the next 10 years.
Okay. And maybe you will bring in Germany, the soccer games or the movies to the car.
Yeah, that's already possible. I think it's more what we need to create is at least the same ease of use and accessibility getting from A to B like you can do in a car. If you're used to just get out of the door, get to your car and then drive somewhere, you don't have to worry about anything except traffic jam. And it's a bit more complicated If you use public transportation, you need the micro scooter, it's not there, it's dirty, whatever, it's raining. So all these kind of things, and that is what we are working on to make it as easy as possible to have all access to all these transportation needs, to be able to combine them. Yeah, and then of course also get advantages out of that kind of model versus just taking your own car from A to B.
Yeah. And what also a brand message from Telecom is, as a marketing guy, is you have this inclusion, you know, that you include everybody to really not make it a, let's say, rich people only mobility.
Yeah.
Asaf, 2030. Probably for you, it's science fiction, not having been on the market for decades like Telecom.
Yeah, I think that on one side, for a small company, 2030 is so far in the future. On the other side, if the strategy of the automotive industry is defined by the abbreviation CASE, connected, autonomous, shared mobility, and electrified, we already see the importance of and the implementation of the C letter, of the connected, the impact of data. We start to see it. I think that by 2030, I expect this to be a run rate business of billions, but I expect the impact of data on the implementation of the autonomous car, because it's a fleet in many cases. On shared mobility, it's a fleet in many cases. And on electrified with range anxiety, data usage would strongly impact the automotive industry ability to actually reach the other letters fruition. If it's not happening, and if the DNA is not acquired and organizations are not set in the right way, those dreams would stay dreams.
So without data, CASE will be science fiction.
To just remain for science fiction for a few more years.
Yeah. Liron, from a marketing perspective.
I think maybe not just from a marketing perspective, but from our IP and core offering. 10 years ago, better place. We thought we're going to change the world just now. So you're telling me 10 years from today, fully autonomous? I don't know. I definitely see continuous business with fleets. As Asaf mentioned, connected vehicles will be probably as part of fleets. But what I do see is embedded technologies, which means OEMs or other platforms will be consolidating to give one service. I don't. We spoke about it in the beginning. I don't see this silos approach working. And I do see us being fully integrated into various platforms. It could be, today it's passengers on a bus, and tomorrow it's on semi-autonomous or something that the driver will have to react, and someone will have to say, listen, this is drowsy driving or currently not good. Maybe semi-autonomous, but it has to be comfort. So smooth driving and not having these hiccups. I don't know how many of you remember the robotic gear that Toyota brought in the early 20s when it was hard to drive and was very unpleasant ride. So I do see this is being embedded in various platforms to provide ride comfort, safety, of course, number one, and also the InsurTech company using driver risk ID. It's just going to be like our credit card risk level, risk analysis that you have today. So it's going to be driving risk ID. We're still going to drive some of our cars. Not everyone's going to live at the center of the city. So yes, this is how I sum it up.
Thank you. Holger.
Yes.
As a supplier, hidden champion, what's going to ZF be going to influence the business in 2030?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, I hope that in 10 years we don't have like anything like coronavirus anymore. Yeah. So that this is done. We have a vaccine. We are all safe and healthy. And when I then look in my crystal ball, so to say, I see a lot of light, but also a lot of darkness. So when I think ahead, I believe that many of the connectivity ventures will have failed. We will see many leaving. Unfortunately, we have to talk about that as well. Yeah, we'll not all be winners. Of course, I hope that ZF is on the winning side. We are aware that, and of course, we do have the targets to also on the OEM side to develop more on the digital connectivity area and with our increasing share of software and not just hardware, so to say, we are selling. But speaking for the aftermarket, and there really our purpose is to keep every mobility customer moving, like really reducing downtime to zero. And there I hope that connectivity as part of that will help us to fulfill the customer needs that are around there going forward, and that we will still be around, hopefully in powerful alliances, as I mentioned earlier. I'm really hoping for that, not just short term, also in the long term. I can only highlight, yeah. And I think there was a question that Thomas just shouted out. Is who will make the race? Are the roles already defined? And I'm clearly saying the race is open. It's really open. So I cannot predict who will be the winner. I think some have better positions, and when I look who's participating today, I think there are some really good cases around there. But I would say, like, looking so far ahead, the race is really open. But I also say there will be winners and they will be giants. So I'm assuming, and of course, companies like Amazon now entering, this is really could be game changers going forward. Yeah, think of Apple as well. They are not an automotive company, but if they would do so with their power and with their brain, so to say, I think there could be some game changers on the road. Yeah.
I had this discussion, you were telling the race is on, and I would compare the race for autonomous driving, who is heavily linked to connected vehicles. It's like similar like the space race in the 60s. It's big geopolitics. A little bit it feels like it. And we are curious now, a lot of German automotive companies now withdraw a little bit from investing in future. And it even opens up the gap. So it's quite a decisive time. And for me personally, you all mentioned it. I'm as a consumer on my mobile, I have 37 different apps which are concerned about my mobility. And I will not except in the future, to use 37. And so it's going to be the race about the user interface. And for myself, we're going to have, if we talk about connectivity, we will have, I call it one brand, not company. We trust our data for mobility. We will have one brand we trust for our health. The next one may be fashion or whatever, maybe not more than 5. And that's going to be an interesting question. Who is going to do the race and who will have the billing relationship? And that's why I was so interested in Joachim's thing. In the end, the billing relationship and the user interface will be a most decisive moment.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm arguing the vehicle maybe not be in the first row. Joachim.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you compare, we talked about Google. If you compare Google Maps in terms of a tool which serves almost all needs of mobility, you can. I'm a heavy traveler, not now, but I was in China and everywhere in the world, and this thing helped me a lot. Find the right subway, find each places. Yeah, and now they started to add the billing function, so I can get tickets, and so that is really the big threat and danger for OEMs, that they will lose the race, because once this works, then they are just one small tiny piece in the whole experience. Yeah, and Apple might be able to do the same.
I think it's being you need to have the right experience, and we're moving from boxes and products to services.
Mm-hmm.
So the integrator that will be presenting the most extensive or comprehensive platform with the services that will be connected between them, this is the one that will win the race. And as being a service provider, I'll be happy to play along in different platforms. We talked about digital platforms in our presentation. It is that people, we moved from boxes to software, and that opened new markets for us. And this is what companies or will have to do eventually if they want to be part of the game. It's about, I agree. On one of the presentations, I saw that software alone will not work. We need the hardware. I fully agree. But you don't need the hardware for everything, okay? You can hardware as well. And the game is going to be services. And this is the platform that will be able to consolidate the services. Your 38 applications, for instance, will be the one that will move forward. By the way, you saw it in the Move It, that was purchased lately, when the invested lady was consolidating routes from buses all over the world into one platform. So you could do exactly what you do now with Google, but getting the routes from the buses, that was very sophisticated, because they took even routes that are not out there on the website. And they offered a value and a service which was very important for passengers, and then created a data that can be used for other solutions afterwards. But the passengers or the customers enjoyed it very much, and it grew very nicely. So services, this is what I had to contribute here. Thank you.
Holger.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I wanted to add on one of your previous comments you made, that the OEMs are now kind of cutting back some of their investments. And I think I would encourage them to do so. So place your bets, and really collect let's say the 1 out of 10 ideas that's really winning. If Corona leads to them getting rid of the projects which are just a distraction, with this transformation, you really have to make sure that you really select them and you spend your money wisely, and not something here, something there, and there's another project and there's another one. I really like the discussion on saying what's really the big bet we're gonna go. And yes, this is super risky. If Volkswagen decides they're gonna go full for e-mobility, and this is a multi-billion investment, but I think it's the logic is right. Not challenging or judging now that decision, but the logic that companies really pick their winning bets, and that's, I think, the right movement.
Of course.
So it feels a little bit like during the 1999-2000 big bubble, when everybody had 10 initiatives, and in the end we left 1 or 2. So maybe Corona is healthy, for competition. It helps us to focus and to keep. Yes, it's a strong statement, Holger.
And I think Corona is also opening a lot of opportunities in places we couldn't imagine, because when we are providing cities and financial institutions with vehicle data, and comes Corona, the 10 years that they had of history is worth nothing, because it tells nothing about what happens. They need something new. They need new angles. They need new filters. They need new aspects in the data. Whatever they did, they need to rethink. We need to rethink it together with them. We need to find new sensors in the car that would compensate for the loss of history, for the change in patterns. So this is new. All of a sudden, we see that the rental in airport is running so thin, but the logistics and supply chain is going through the roof. So obviously, we help those, but we also help the rental companies convert their fleets into logistics supplies. And so to do that, you need data. You need all the data you can suck out of your CRM to understand the driver and the fleet owner better, but you need all the data you can suck out of a car to better understand and optimize your operational process and optimize your marketing process if you intend to take those cars that were not built for logistics and now try to turn them into logistics with the same metrics, with the same mileage, with the same more or less functionality at the end of the day. So some new opportunities here.
Sucking data out, I understand, you know. And one last, I'm here to learn from you. So I always hear about supply chain. Everybody tells me blockchain is really gonna solve the problem. And so any statements from your side, maybe Holger or Joachim? How will the role of blockchain influence this whole data? Is it
I
like...
have to read that as well. I'm curious.
Yeah. Holger, sorry.
I'm not the blockchain expert. I only know that it is really relevant. We do have many use cases for blockchain, and I think this is probably worth another discussion. Yeah. But definitely connectivity and blockchain, they perfectly fit.
Yeah.
But you don't need blockchain for probably 98% of all the use cases. Yeah, it's also, again, it's a big hype. I'm always a bit less enthusiastic. You can solve a lot by doing things right with old technology. You don't necessarily need blockchain for everything. It has advantages, but it also has a lot of disadvantages.
Yeah.
It will probably influence the time to market. If you want to have connectivity and services out there in 2 years, then you need to rely first on the existing technology and platforms and then move forward. So blockchain is kind of autonomous. You need to decide when it's going to come and how you're going to use it.
Okay. We're running out of time. I would have loved, if we have time, to talk about 3D printing technology. Might have the same effect now as home office, you know, influence on our work, but 3D on manufacturing, production, but that's another topic. So Thomas, you told me 4 minutes left. Any questions from the audience, which appear now on the screen? Or are we through with the time? I was so involved that I really didn't check the time.
I think we are coming to an end.
Good. So it was kind of end for me with your statements in the futures. So I say thank you. Sorry if that was a pain in your ass, because I really asked all of the participants to send me some brain food ahead. I will also use it to write a blog with some of your statements, because they're very, very good. Thank you for the lively discussion. So we have something sustainable afterwards. And I hand over back to Thomas, and have a great evening. Nice time on the beach, Asaf. And hope to meet you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for having me.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.